I am here in Innisfail, beautiful Innisfail.
That's right.
Would you consider Innisfail a suburb of Red Deer or no?
No, we're much better than Red Deer.
Yeah. I grew up in Red Deer, so I feel like there might be. I know, like I grew up playing hockey, and I don't know, Innisfailians were rivals to us.
Yeah, we definitely had some rivals against Red Deer.
And we're both hockey players.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much you want to smack talk us here.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll find out. So I'm hanging out at Darkwoods Brewing and Coffee Roasting. I'm with Nick and Scott Bell, twin brothers, business partners. Let's see how well this goes. The brothers that go into business together. What could possibly go wrong?
We get along wonderfully.
Totally, yeah.
Yeah. So born and raised in Innisfail, is that right?
Yes, born and raised in Innisfail. Played hockey in Innisfail.
School in Innisfail. Did pretty much everything in Innisfail, but yeah.
It's going to be tough to identify which brother's talking.
Yeah.
Should I have a high-pitched voice or what?
Yeah, there you go.
So, and like you said, you did play hockey. So how far did the hockey career go for you guys?
Well, I played hockey in right out of minor hockey. I went and played junior A out of Okotoks, and then I went and played for the Red Deer Rebels for a year, and then I went and played some university hockey at Mount Royal, and then I played a year at RDC.
Oh, nice.
For my last year. Now I'm playing for the Red Deer Rustlers senior AA team.
When I was a kid, the Red Deer Rustlers were, what were they, a junior A team back in the day?
No, they were like Bantam and stuff, because we played Red Deer Rustlers when we were in Bantam and Midget, and No,
you played the Chiefs, my friend.
No, we were definitely called the Rustlers.
Oh, really?
No,
I got about 5 jerseys.
You're talking about the kids Rustlers.
Kids Rustlers.
Yeah, I think you're right. Back in the day, I think there was a junior.
Yeah,
team
and they
of
played
Rustlers.
like at the arena, and those guys were fighting. Like there was blood. It was like Slapshot, like the movie Slapshot. Every
Nice.
game.
Yeah, we're a little more skilled now and not as fight worthy.
And the concession area was just. I remember as a kid, like you're knee high to all the adults, and it was just smoking cigarettes and the good old days.
That's where I play now is the beer league, and that's where we smoke those cigarettes and have fun.
Yeah.
You're not there for the hockey anymore. You're just there for the beers.
Exactly. So you guys obviously you have a brewery here, but also a roastery, coffee roastery.
Yep.
I guess let's start at why did you guys decide to start a brewery? Like, was it a passion that you guys both had, or where did the idea come from?
Yeah, so the idea kind of started when I was finished university hockey, and Scott and I are pretty close. Still both. I kind of moved back to Innisfail, and started working for my old man here at the Napa store, just right beside us here at the brewery. And so we started to talk about different projects that we wanted to get into, and we were able to get an old 1970 Chevy truck, and with the thought of fixing it up and having a few beers while fixing it up, and we did
restoring it and have a good time. We were just looking for something to do, right? After work, we just had nothing to do, and let's figure out something.
Right.
Bought that truck, and I was a welder back in the day, so let's rusted panel, let's weld that up. Oh wow, that really warped on us. Well, that's not much fun. So we got rid of the truck, and
we pretty much drank more beer than we got than anything else during this little project of ours.
The hobby was beer drinking.
Yeah, exactly, and that was ultimately where it came from. And then we said, hey, what if we start making our own beer? Like that's cool, right? So, anyways, we started making our own beer into my garage in 2015 was our first beer that we came out with in the garage, and it just kind of really went from there.
Yeah.
And people started to enjoy the beer, and we thought, you know what, let's make a go out of it.
Yeah.
So
one of the things, so your dad, if I'm correct, he had the Napa.
Yeah, so my dad ran the Napa store for 30 years.
Right.
So that's kind of, he's our kind of our business mentor in this venture of ours. And when we moved out of the garage, because we needed somewhere commercial to actually sell our beer to not just our friends and family that enjoyed it for free.
For free, yeah.
So we actually moved our home brewing system into the back of my dad's Napa store.
Right.
So we're like bootlegging beer out of, it's like, hey, come on in for your pads and rotors, and then, hey, come on to the back and I'll sell you some beer as well.
Yeah, you had to walk down a nice gravel area right into the back of Napa. It was a little creepy. Everyone was like, beers back here? There are beers back?
Trust me.
Come this way. Come this way.
Yeah. Free candy sign.
Exactly. It was a little sketchy, but everyone has their story, and that's kind of where we started, and that's kind of what sparked it all. And we were able to get our commercial license there, and I still remember getting our license. I was all worried about something happening or not being whatever. He kind of walks, AGLC guy walks in, and he goes, "So this is where you're brewing beer out of?" And I was like, "Yeah."
Don't judge me.
Yeah, exactly. And he's just like, "Oh, okay, well, sign this paper. See you later. Yeah. Good luck."
Nice. Well, and it's funny. So you always wanted, like, you went into school. You were in business school, right?
Yeah.
And so was that something, like, I guess you mentioned your dad being your mentor. I feel like there's this combination of obviously wanting to work with your hands, so you're into vehicles, you were a welder, but then also being in business. So is that maybe one of the reasons why brewing just made sense? It's like you want to build something and you want to be in business at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, with the truck, you wanted to build something that people can appreciate, and turned into obviously into brewing beer. And we wanted something to be able to build or be able to create that people would be able to enjoy.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the idea, and people did enjoy it, and still hopefully do enjoy it. So
one of the things I'm always curious about when it comes to siblings working together, because I may or may not have experience with working with siblings, and it may or may not have ended terribly. I'm speaking in hypotheticals, of course, but for you guys, how did you guys, when you started in business together, how did you make it work? And like, how did you define who was going to have what role and that sort of thing?
So we always knew that Nick was going to be the business side of everything. I always hated touching paperwork, looking at a computer. I didn't want anything to do with that. I was always good with my hands, so I knew that I wanted to be the hands-on person to do this stuff. And yeah, Nick, you stay on your side, but for the most part, we just kind of had a great time with it, and everything just kind of fell into place. And we both got our roles, but at the beginning we both were hands-on. We both built kind of everything that we needed to, and then I took off to college for the old college program and learned a lot more to get into the industry, and just went from there. And
so because you had mentioned that you were a welder in a previous life, is there anything that you take from that in terms of, as a brewer, like what did you learn in welding that you kind of carry over to the brewing process?
Well, the very first idea was to actually build our tanks and to build our weld our tanks and stuff like that, and then realize that it was a lot more than it looked like to do that. But for the most part, everything that goes into it, we had to build our own glycol lines, we built our own fridge, we built our own, we set up the place, we needed walls, we needed everything that we needed just to kind of build. And that's kind of where I really shined. Was I'm really good with working my hands, and
we built the place in the back, like we were talking about the Nav store, and everything we built it all. Like, we built our own glycol machine, we built our own refrigerator. If you want to see a a brewery on a budget.
Yeah.
That is a definition,
would
right?
be
Which I think is great. And then what's cool is, so you went from, like, not just, because a lot of people that are home brewers, they'll decide to move to a commercial facility, but you knew that, let's go to school, let's get kind of a real education on brewing. Why was that important to you?
It was important to me to become successful because like there's some great breweries out there, and if you don't have the skills, if you don't have the knowledge on those aspects, you're just not going to come out with good products.
Yeah. And I think like nowadays, and I always say like, let's say a decade ago, the general public was a little bit more forgiving with, oh, it's a craft brewery, this is kind of not perfect. Like nowadays, I think the consumer is expecting something dialed in right off the bat, right?
I think we had our leeway when we first started.
Did you? Yeah.
Yeah, like everyone was like, oh yeah, they're just starting off. Give them a chance, whatever. But like, let's support them. It's a small community. Let's support these guys. So we did have our cushion that our friends and families and friends and whatever we needed to kind of get going, but. Obviously, when we started going and pushing product past Innisfail, people expected good product, good service, good stuff like that.
They probably had more leeway when it was free, and then all of a sudden, when they're started, oh shit, you want me to pay? Okay, well here's I have some critique.
That was the biggest test, was going from free beer to, hey, now start paying for this beer.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
We always had to go, is it actually good, or are you just saying that because you're our friend and family?
Yeah, totally. So you guys start in the garage, and then you move to the new building. When you guys started, like, the commercial brewery, what was the vision? What did you expect? Did you expect that most of the beer is going to be served and sold out of here? Did you have ideas of like distributing, across Alberta, world domination? What was the thought?
Yeah, world domination with a 2-barrel brewery.
No, I think everyone we wanted to sell it out in our tap room. We built a nice little tap room for everyone to come in and enjoy it.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, we don't even need a canner. We'll just sell it all out in pints and everything.
Right.
And soon realized that we can make a lot more beer, and we need people to drink this beer, and so we needed to package it and get it out the door.
Right.
Yeah, so we were in kind of going back a little bit, but yeah, we were obviously in the Napa store, and the idea was always to be bigger. We're never finished. We're never stopped growing. I say young, but we're 32 right now.
That's pretty young.
That's pretty young, sure. We're 32 right now, and birthday's in 7 days from now, so 33 here real soon.
Jesus.
Yeah, and we're never going to stop growing, and that's kind of what when we first started in the back of the Napa store was that this is not where we're going to end.
Right.
We have to build a bigger brewery, and we have to build an actual business, not just a little thing.
Right.
So that's when we started looking at different locations and different ideas for an actual home for us.
Yeah.
And we started looking around, and then my old man said, "Hey, you know what? He has a little bit of land right beside the Napa store that he owns." And it just happened that his mortgage was ending on the Napa store over 30 years. And so he just remortgaged, and we built a brewery.
Hey, Warren, you want to put a new mortgage down? That'd be great.
Yeah, that's hilarious. So is your dad? I'm guessing he was getting to the age, or he was getting to the age where he, a lot of guys are thinking of stepping back and maybe going on the odd vacation. So, so did this kind of change his plans? Did he come on as kind of a partner with you guys?
He didn't really come as a partner with the business part. We are, like, Scott and I are just partners, but he's I would say more of a silent partner with regards to what he did for us with the building itself.
Right.
So we were lucky enough that we were able to design a building to our specs and to exactly what we wanted, and he was all for it. So he obviously he's our father, and we look up to him, and he wanted us to succeed, and we were lucky enough that we had the opportunity for him to do that. Right?
Yeah.
So,
And he sure don't mind the beers that come out of it, all right?
I bet you he doesn't get his wallet out when he comes in for a pint.
No.
Yeah, that's awesome. So in terms of the vision of what the brewery was, did you guys come into it with an idea of what types of beers you guys wanted to brew, or was that kind of up to the people coming in and asking?
well, we live in a rural area. A lot of the farmers and rodeo guys and whatever else, they enjoy Bud Light.
Yeah. Hey, Darkwoods, yeah, do you guys have a Bud Light? No.
Not
So-
something that tastes like Bud Light. I'm actually wanting a Bud
That's
Light.
right.
Yeah.
So yes, I mean we did have ideas of what we wanted to for product, and we had some product from obviously the garage and from the back of the Napa store. But ultimately, yes, you are right. We had to let the consumers decide or kind of lead us in a direction of what they wanted.
Yeah.
Especially because we're local and we didn't have the reach of all of Alberta just then. So we did kind of start with kind of your easier, lighter drinking beers to hopefully gain some of those Bud Light drinkers, which we did. We took over some Bud Light drinkers, which was fantastic.
Well, and it's interesting. I mention this every now and again, where I visit a lot of breweries, and I was at Dog Island, which is Slave Lake, and it was funny to chat with some of the locals there because they were, like you were saying, kind of your typical or cliche kind of Bud Light drinkers. And now they're hardcore IPA. Like they got converted. So, we're sitting here drinking a smoked beer right now. So there must have been some sort of conversion here as well into kind of a more craft or more of a flavorful beer.
We've had a couple guys come in there and they're, oh, that's not a Bud Light. That's not a Bud Light. And I was like, well, just give this a try. Just give this a try. And then all of a sudden he's taking kegs of stout home with him. And he's like, I got to get myself a kegerator so I can get you guys on tap at my house. You betcha, man.
Yeah, that's awesome. So when I was here during COVID, and you, in this very room, you had a ping pong table set up, which you've since dismantled, probably because you realized I was going to kick your ass at ping pong. You're like, shit, we got to get this thing down.
I'll put it out there right now. If anybody comes and wants to play ping pong and they do beat me at ping pong, it's a free beer. That's the rule here
awesome.
at the brewery.
And I was here with Bud. We were talking. So Bud is with Troubled Monk in Red Deer, but he's grew up in Innisfil. So is he kind of a local celebrity or what?
I don't think so.
Everybody knows him. Everybody knows him.
Yeah.
Hates him or loves him, I don't know. I'll say.
But so that's why I wanted to come and do the podcast, because I wanted to reset our relationship. When you get introduced to someone by Bud, things aren't.
You never know who it's going to be.
Yeah. But with COVID, and I think actually when I was here, if memory serves, it was kind of during one of the first breaks where we kind of thought, okay. maybe is the what did they say, 2 weeks to flatten the curve, and then it ended up being. So it's kind of like, okay, maybe maybe it's coming to an end, which clearly, looking back, it wasn't. But you guys started here in 2019, right?
Yeah. So we opened up. So we built this brewery in 2019, and we opened up our doors of January 1st, 2020. So we were super excited, and not knowing really the industry too much. January is like a dry January, so it was slower when we first kind of opened up.
Yeah, I've never heard of it before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is dry January? And then out here, dry February. That's stupid. Anyways. So yeah, we were opened up in January of 2020, and then we were closed practically of March of 2020.
Yeah, and we just filled our whole fridge full of beer ready to go.
Yeah. So we had a ton of product to get rid of, and we didn't have any realtors like anywhere to sell it yet, and so we didn't know what we were going to do. And we came up with it kind of fell in our lap just a little bit. We came up with what we call this pay it forward.
Yeah.
And so what it ended up being was that Scott and I went around, dropped off 4-packs of beer to people in Innisfil, and then with a little note saying, hey.
Somebody's thinking of you.
Someone was thinking of you, and you got delivered 4 free beers. And now it's time for you to pay it forward to a friend. and it just blew up. And so we needed to hire, 'cause as soon as COVID hit, we had to fire almost everybody. So it was just Scott and I playing ping pong for the first couple months.
Yeah.
That's why we're so good at ping pong. And so we had to hire a couple staff back to do deliveries, and we were doing, 60 deliveries a day for those for the first few months of COVID, and that's really what saved us through COVID. Like we were going to be in a lot of trouble there for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. And the thing with COVID, obviously, it fucked with people. One of the things, though, if you get through it, it's you kind of it was like the hardest business lesson right off the bat for you guys. So did it? Is there positives that came from that? You go through that right to begin with. I would imagine your sense of we can go through anything has to be.
Yeah, that's pretty much exactly. It was if we can get through COVID, we'll be able to get through anything.
Yeah,
that was a tough start.
Yeah,
for sure.
And you have to get creative, like you said, like the pay it forward ideas and stuff like that. Like all of a sudden, it's just like, okay, what are the ideas that we can do to to be successful and to grow despite all of these things? What are the kind of the positives that came out of COVID?
Positives, you say? Hey?
Well, you're still here.
Yes.
And you're really good at ping pong.
Yeah. The it's tough to really to say anything positive about kind of all that happening. We went through not just the beginning of COVID, but we had to ride it for 2 years of opening and closing, and then these new rules and those new rules.
Oh my god!
And checking cards, and it was an absolute nightmare.
Yeah.
And then you're getting complaints about, hey, you didn't check my card, and then it's just an absolute shit show.
Yeah.
And now you're dealing with AHS, and it was just a nightmare. Really.
But as a business person, do you consider yourself a better business person at the end of the...
I would in a way. We obviously had to work around a lot of different things. The whole pay it forward really helped us, and we had to think of a ton of different ideas and to stay open. A lot of people, we had to go to patio only for a little while, and so we had to do a ton of adjustments for patio only and things like
set
that.
Up sections, put up dividers between
tables
everything
and stuff. It was.
So, one of the things that you think about, it's like, okay, well, now that's all over. Let's stop talking about COVID. But, there's so many things that are still challenging, taking that away, which is, you think about the cost of goods, you think about, supply chains and stuff like that. For you guys, what are the biggest challenges in business right now?
Some of the biggest challenges that I would say is one of them I would say is distribution and kind of the competition out there as well. There's a lot of people out there, a lot of breweries out there that are coming out with some very good product, and we need to compete with them, and we need to be different. And one of the things that we kind of came out with was, or we kind of started with, was the coffee part of things.
Right.
Right. So when beer sales are slow, coffee sales are high. So we were able to kind of diverse ourselves enough that we're not just relying on beer sales. And then during COVID, we needed to put more ideas forward, and that's when we kind of came up with a kitchen idea.
Yeah.
So we didn't have a kitchen when we started, and we needed to think of ways to bring in different revenue, and that's when we put in some more money and put in some more equipment for to make a kitchen. And
your wife's involved in that part of the business?
Yeah,
is that
so
right?
we brought her on board kind of our first year. She was a teacher, and we now have 2 kids of our own, and I think we figured out pretty quick that being a teacher isn't you have to deal with a lot of the kids, not just 2 of your own.
Yeah.
And she loved being a teacher. She loved kids.
God bless teachers.
Yeah,
eh?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Patience that I don't have.
Yeah. So now she's kind of our back house manager with with regards to the kitchen and staffing and everything like that. And staffing these days, and I think COVID had a very tough role on that as well. Getting staff to kind of just stick around, or committed staff, or even staff in general. Like there's a lot of people that I hear are jobless, but we're not getting many applicants for jobs. Yeah,
that's what I'm wondering. So I'm always thinking where there's so many everywhere you go. It's like they're hiring. It's like where is everybody?
Where is everybody?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a very interesting. I mean, hiring people is a very interesting process these days.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hilarious that there's hours to be given out, but nobody wants them.
Yeah.
So it's and go back to your what you learned, or what your tough parts about running a business now after COVID, and I would say one of the biggest ones is staffing.
Yeah.
And is getting the right staff, is getting enough staff, and having too many staff on is bad, but having not enough staff is
worse. Maybe
worse.
Yeah.
Right.
And so let's talk about the coffee for a little bit, because that wasn't really just kind of an afterthought. That was something that you were almost as passionate about as the beer. Where did the idea of roasting come from?
Yeah, absolutely. So we were building the building, or the brewery itself, so we're going to have a brand new tap room, a brand new kind of, everything, right? So we wanted to showcase that part of our business. And we said, well, being a brewery, you're going to be only open for kind of your busier times, which is start drinking at 2 o'clock and closing down at 10 maybe or something. So we kind of thought that, hey, how could we be open longer so that people will be able to come in for more of the day?
Right.
And we said, hey, well, we'll start selling coffee. And yeah, that's great. You can be a coffee shop, but being a coffee shop isn't going to really do anything, isn't unique enough.
Right.
So we said, hey, what about if we start a coffee roastery? And that's when kind of the gears started to turn. And I started roasting coffee again back in my garage while this place was being built to learn the ins and outs of roasting coffee. And I did a class up in Edmonton at a coffee shop, a roastery up in Edmonton, to learn how to roast coffee. And it is not an easy thing. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of.
There's some science to it.
There's a lot of science to it. There's a lot of chemistry to it, and so it took us a good year to kind of get a decent product out. And so now when we opened, we were able to open up at 7 a.m. every day.
Yeah.
And that really helped with kind of kickstarting our entire business. And the coffee sales are very consistent when beer sales are a little bit slower.
Yeah, there's no dry January related to coffee.
Exactly.
Right. Everyone drinks coffee every day.
Yeah.
And coffee is number 2 drink in the world.
Yeah.
Second to water. So it is one of the biggest businesses in the world. And the way that I looked at it was there's only 2 or 3 big players of coffee in Alberta, that being Tim Hortons and Starbucks. And it's like, hey, this is, in my mind, it went very, very well with brewing beer as we're brewing coffee.
Yeah.
Right? So that's why we're Darkwoods Brewing, where we're brewing coffee and we're brewing beer at the same time. So that
Do the two things combine ever? Like, do you use the
sure
coffee
do,
in your
yeah.
recipes? Yeah.
Yeah, we got a coffee stout. We're working on a shaft on draft right now. Should be launching in like March or something. And yeah, coffee goes very well with beer. Coffee goes very well all together. Yeah.
Well, it's popular at the festivals. I know that.
Yeah, all the vendors
Yeah.
sure liked a coffee when they
when
they get a little tired.
When Mark showed up here today, he brought us our silver award for the Edmonton Craft Beer Festival for the beverage. Was it People's Choice Award? Is that
Yeah.
what it is? Yeah,
Yeah.
People's Choice Award.
No, it's cool. I mean, I think, like I said, that your branding and everything, you guys have a strong brand, right? It resonates, like clearly it resonates with consumers. So it's interesting. You know, coming from a small town like Innisfail, how does, when you guys go into markets like Calgary and Edmonton, like what's your strategy, kind of like leaving the Innisfail market and going into the Calgarys or larger markets? What's the thought there?
I mean, yeah, the biggest thing is, I mean, when I look at it as a consumer myself. So if I go into a beer store and I'm trying to pick a new beer that I haven't tried before, or if I'm wanting to venture out and try something new.
Yeah, looking down the line of craft beer and trying to pick which one it is or which one you want is a tough decision to make.
Oh, big time.
But when you see a logo that kind of draws your eye to it, it's like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Give that a try.
So, I mean, that is how we've been able to sell our product in different locations is our logo, is our marketing.
Yeah.
We're able to say, hey, this is going to look really well on your shelf. I mean, my sales guy would have different ideas.
I don't think so. I think
it must be just him. Yeah.
No, he's sitting back there agreeing with you. He's shaking his head in agreement. So when you guys look at, where you're at today, thinking back to, roasting coffee in your garage or brewing beer in your garage, did you ever kind of imagine that you'd be where you are today with the brewery?
With how, I mean, go ahead.
This was the plan. Like we had kind of a site in mind of this is where we're going to start. This is the next step is a small little thing to make sure that we are on the right track. The next step is to get bigger, and we couldn't do it without getting bigger and putting in a lot more effort and a lot more time and a lot more putting out more product and everything.
Yeah.
So this was kind of the next step into the whole process.
And then, so you say, in terms of like you're at where you kind of want it to be, what is then the next vision? Like, just comparing myself to, again, last time we did the podcast together, you're canning a lot more than you were before. Yeah. What's your distribution plan, and how does that change as you think about growing? Is it, taking over Alberta? Is it,
Yeah, it's going to be taking over Alberta.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Alberta. Yeah. No,
but
actually,
being available throughout Alberta, right?
But actually, though, yes, it is going to be. We're focusing on Alberta, and we want to be more well known, and it's going to take lots and lots of time to build that brand and to build our reputation and throughout Alberta.
Yeah.
A lot of it comes down to is marketing and getting out there to these Alberta Beer Fest events and getting people to taste our beer. And that's I mean, we don't have any slow in us. We're not saying, hey, this is enough. We're going to be slowing down anytime soon. We want to keep going. We have plans, we have ideas, we have thoughts for bigger and better, and it's probably never going to stop.
I love it. And so when you guys get together as a family, because like your wife's involved now,
yep,
your dad's involved,
yep,
are Thanksgiving still reasonably friendly, or are shots fired across the table, or what? Like, are you able to kind of separate those two things? Like, we're brothers today, we're business partners the next day.
Scott and I work I would say 90% of the time. Eric's laughing behind me. Eric's the sales guy. He sees us in the back, so he sees us fight and he sees disagree. I shouldn't say fight, but disagree.
Got to make sure we shut the door when we have that disagreement, and we can yell at each other for a little bit.
Because at times it is tough, for sure it is. I mean, one of us thinks they got the right idea, the right thought, or whatever, and the next. But most of the time we see eye to eye on what we want or where we want to go and what we want to do, and we do make it happen. Yeah. But with regards to family dinners and stuff, we usually leave a lot of that at the brewery itself, and we don't bring too much of it home, which is good.
Because I will say that is usually easier said than done, right? Like people say that you shouldn't combine family and business, and I thought at one point, no, it can be done, and I proved that it sometimes can't be done. But no, but I am always interested in seeing it. And so your dad with Napa, are you guys still involved with that on some level?
Yeah, so I'm heavily involved in the Napa store right now. So my old man is we talked about earlier about him kind of stepping back. It with starting the brewery, it definitely put him kind of back into work more than kind of what he probably wanted to. Yeah. But he seemed to be, all for it, obviously, because he wanted us to do this, and he saw where the potential and whatever. But it did take him probably another couple of years. It was about 2 years to start stepping back again. Right. To be able to do his retirement idea. So now he's kind of out of the picture at the Napa store. I wouldn't say fully. He still comes in once in a while and.
He gets bored.
Yeah, tells everybody what to do once in a while.
And another thing,
But
dads are good for that.
He's finally stepping back a little bit more, and I'm kind of taking over the Napa store now.
Oh wow, nice. So Innisfail, I mean, Innisfail is still a fairly small town, but it seems to me, there's you drive through some towns and they seem to be kind of falling off a cliff, and you go through other towns and they seem to be quite vibrant. Innisfail seems to be quite a vibrant town still. How would you describe, the community in terms of, and even just the beer culture in this town? Like, is it?
It's come a long ways, I think. The beer culture. When we first started, it was like pulling teeth about having we don't have Bud Light on tap, right?
Right.
But it was pulling teeth for the first little while, but now I think we've kind of shown our way through, and people are really starting to notice us, even though we're on Main Street, and it's hard to not notice us, but they seem to say, "Oh, you guys are open," or it's just hilarious to see some of the locals and talk to them and say,
I got to get in there one of those days. I got to get in there.
Yeah, we've only been open for 2 years.
We're on Main Street. I haven't seen us.
I had a small sports store, and I would know guys like for 5 years. Like, I got to come in and get a bike. And I'm like, cool, man. We don't sell bikes, but sure. It's just like, you've clearly never been in my store before. Yeah.
Oh, you guys sell food?
Yeah.
For about 2 years.
But now. What's cool about that though is it shows you there's still there's that much room for growth. And
that's
stuff
right.
Like
there's
that.
still that amount of people that have yet to come through the doors and check it out.
Yeah.
So
when you're thinking about we can still grow, it's obvious that there's that potential in terms of other breweries, because Central Alberta, there's a lot of really good breweries in the area, and there's Troubled Monk too. I was kidding. That was just a shot at Bud, not Charlie and the guys. But is there a unique beer culture in terms of do you guys collaborate? Do you guys work together? Is it getting more competitive? What's kind of the vibe between breweries in Central Alberta?
I think the vibe around breweries is everyone likes to work together, especially if you're a smaller type guys and stuff like that. Like, I've reached out to Red Heart a couple times and, hey guys, I ran out of this, and they're like, oh yeah, absolutely, come grab whatever you need, and away you go. And I think that goes with a lot of the breweries. I find that we're all kind of in it together. It's not just we're all competing against each other. Right. I think we're all very in the same base. We all want to be successful. We all want to do very well, and I think we all strive to help each other out.
Yeah.
And want to all succeed at the same time. And I don't find us in a huge competition. We all just want to do very well for ourselves.
Yeah.
We all want to.
There's a lot of market with regards to the big guys that we can still take away.
Totally. And I think that's it. Yeah, work together. As long as, you got breweries that give a shit about what they're doing and that sort of thing, it's kind of easy to want to help them out, right? Mm-hmm. And if you're short on something, really, that's your brother's fault because he's in charge of the books. He should have ordered
exactly.
it.
Like, don't we start anything right now. Don't we start anything right now.
That was one of those conversations we'll have to shut the door for, and I'll yell at him for a bit.
I didn't call you an asshole. I said you were being an asshole. You were acting like an asshole.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. It's been fun working with you guys, getting to know you guys over the years, and it's awesome to see you guys grow. And like I said, I think what you guys have here is really cool. Me, having been born and raised in Central Alberta as well, it's really cool to see these success stories. And congratulations, guys.
Thank you. Absolutely.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, one more beer and then I'll hit the road.
Right on. Man. Fair enough.
All right, see you guys.
Thank you.